a long-term view on equities.
Good listing,
25-30% uptake in comparison to its IPO price.
The Nifty at 25,952. It's a 60-point cut as we speak.
Surprise, surprise, or may not be surprise, but it's a 10% lower circuit now on the stock.
We've seen that recovery that has come back from the lows of the day as well. Nifty, as we speak, is up around 100-odd points.
Good afternoon, hello and welcome. You're with us on Closing Bell, and it's turned out to be yet another good day for the market. Good, because once again India is outperforming when the world is feeling very jittery about those Nvidia results, which will be the single most important cue today, rather tonight. We've outperformed. We've managed to see that morning dip get bought into, and things are looking up on the green side, Nigel.
Well, that's right. I think bang on with regard to our morning chat, right? We had suggested that India could possibly outperform, like it's been the case in the last 5-6 trading sessions. Or if that AI bubble has to burst, we never participated on the upside. So that could actually be a blessing in disguise. And the Nifty Bank continues to power along, right? It started off in the red, and now that's at the high point of the day. 59,000 has crossed, 59,200 the last time I checked. Just one problem is the breadth of the market is still in favor of the number of stocks declining, but I think par for the course. Gradually, the broader markets will pick up once the headline index finds its feet.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we've got plenty to cover on the show, and we'll talk about that. But before we go any further, really the stock of the hour right now is Sammaan Capital. We should put it up on the screen, and we'll tell you more about it. We'll get Ashmit on the line. There is a court hit that's come the stock's way. And this is the court saying that the CBI will have to file a fresh FIR, and it'll have to come out with its own affidavit. In fact, actually, we have Ashmit with us, so let's straight away get to the story. Ashmit, this is a big knock because I'll tell you what, the market, with the whole brand identity change and all the reorganization, the market thought that all the regulatory and legal issues are behind Sammaan Capital. Today, we've learned that's not the case. Tell us exactly what happened in court.
Well, there is a fair amount of regulatory heat that's coming their way, and that's all on account of a Supreme Court hearing that took place this afternoon. The Supreme Court hearing was essentially of a PIL which had sought regulatory action. That PIL had cited a report filed by SEBI saying that the SEBI report very clearly elucidated how there were plenty of areas which required further investigation, which required further scrutiny, and to that end was sufficient for filing of an FIR. Now, this led to a whole round of questioning of the various investigating agencies. For one, as far as the CBI is concerned, here, their attitude has been called as a cool attitude, as a friendly approach that the CBI is taking to this entire investigation, which caused the Supreme Court to frown upon it and then ask the CBI to go ahead and to file an FIR to conduct a serious investigation and also to file a response to give their official stance. That's as far as the CBI is concerned. The Supreme Court also not very happy with the SEBI, the market regulator. When there was a meeting that was convened, there was a meeting that was formulated by the Enforcement Directorate. SEBI was hesitant to participate in that meeting. That again inspired some words from the apex court. The Supreme Court questioned why SEBI has double standards. Why, when the Supreme Court is giving jurisdiction to SEBI to investigate, why SEBI appears to be hesitant. So again, SEBI being nudged into a meeting with the other investigators. That leads to the Enforcement Directorate. The ED as well was up for some scrutiny. The ED clarified that they've done their bit. They've filed complaints before the EOW of Delhi as well as the EOW of Mumbai Police, but those complaints haven't been taken cognizance of, and that is what requires further scrutiny going forward. So to that end, the ED saying that, look, we'll put our house in order. We'll get all the investigating agencies under one roof, the ED, the CBI, SEBI, as well as the SFIO, and then we'll come back to the apex court and give clarity on the status of the investigation. So clearly, regulatory heat coming Sammaan's way. Supreme Court nudging the investigating agencies in that direction. The next hearing in this case, we understand, will be on December 17th.
Okay, so this opens up a whole new Pandora's box. Ashmit, just to clarify, this was a fresh PIL filed, or was this in connection with an outstanding earlier old legal matter?
Well, this is a PIL that has been filed that was argued today, which raised some of these concerns, the legacy issues that have been affecting the company. And those were the very same issues that, in fact, were cited today. This was cited in conjunction with the SEBI report, which essentially added more fuel to the fire, so to speak, which allowed for the Supreme Court to take a strong position in terms of the need for further scrutiny, for further investigation.
Okay. All right, Ashmit, thanks very much for putting that in perspective. So it's very, very clear because the court has taken up multiple investigative agencies taken up the agencies for their own role and why they have not been perhaps scrutinizing the matter as deeply as the court feels it is needed, and therefore the market reacting 7% down on the stock. Ashmit, thank you very much for that. We have Mitesh joining in. Of course, we have to take the trading calls for the hour. But Mitesh, before we get to the overall market setup and the other calls, just a word on Sammaan, because the stock actually did really well, the last 2-3 months. From levels of around 110 or so, 112 or so, it had rallied quite sharply throughout September, October. Just purely on technicals, what would your advice be now?
Yeah. So I think, this looks like a deeper pullback to the rally which happened. As you rightly mentioned, it started from around 110 odd levels and went up to as high as about 190. Now, the key supports are placed around this 160, 155 zone. I think it might correct to those levels, which is another 7-8% from here. And then you will see stability and bounce back coming. So maybe a normal pullback going on in a slightly longer time frame.
Okay, all right. A quick word on the Nifty itself, Mitesh. It's done very, very well. Today, at any point of time, if you bought, you've got 40, 50-point dips actually on the Nifty as well. But that's got bought into. And actually, as we speak, it's at the high point of the day. A view on the Nifty, where is it headed?
So I think, Nigel, we have been saying that we'll possibly be between 26,100 to about 25,750, 800. I think we're heading towards the upper end. 26,100 now is a identified supply pivot because we had about two tops being made in the last few days over there. So I think once we cross 26,100, then I think we are looking to retest the all-time price, which is about 26,277, and then we are in new territory. So I think the overall bias is on the upside, but yeah, you will have these levels to be cleared before we have the free run on the upside.
And Mitesh, what about stock ideas? What are you going with today? And just throw in a word on KEC International as well. Again, news, but the stock has been hammered badly, 10% lower. So word on KEC and your other trades for the last hour.
Yeah. So KEC, I'll take that first. I think, the last time the stock had corrected from 1260, 70 odd levels, it had come down to as well about 660. I think we are heading towards a retest of those lows. In case you break that, then there's a good chance of that happening. Then I think the stock might even test 600. So there is more downside left over here. Though I think, with this kind of fall, there might be a few percentage point of pullback. I think that's when people should look to exit. On the trading calls, I have a buy on Policy Bazaar with a stop at 1829 for targets of 1900. And Lalpath Lab, I think that's come on the radar after a long time. That's a buy with a stop of 3200 for targets of 3310.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much for that, Mitesh. We'll come back to you in a bit for some more trades. Now, before we talk more stocks, let's actually move on to an important piece of news. And this is the pre-budget season building up. And ahead of the big event, representatives from the BFSI space met the finance minister today. In fact, what we're talking about is FIDC, the Finance Industry Development Council, a framework body of NBFC. So they had their own deliberations with the finance minister. Let's bring in Ritu to understand exactly what they are seeking. And then I think we'll have the FIDC representative with us as well. Ritu?
Well, that's right, Surbhi. FIDC, which is the SRO for the NBFC body, along with a handful of NBFCs, held a pre-budget meeting with Finance Ministry officials today, really reiterating what has been a long-standing demand for the industry, which is largely around a dedicated refinance window. FIDC, in fact, has highlighted several issues, that they told us about after this meeting with the Finance Ministry, including, the need for diversified funding sources, improved recovery mechanisms, some of the persistent tax challenges that keep coming up. So specifically, there were four major asks. One is, of course, apart from this refinance window, the second is, reducing the threshold limit from 20 lakh to 1 lakh rupees for NBFCs to enforce security under SARFAESI, which is what is already available to banks. The third one is exemption from TDS on interest income under Section 194A, as is available to other financial institutions. And lastly, to notify NBFCs for deduction in taxable income under Section 80E on interest in education loans. Now, what exactly is the significance of some of these measures and how will they move the needle when it comes to the NBFC sector? To understand why these measures are critical, joining us now is Raman Agarwal, the CEO of FIDC. Mr. Raman Agarwal, thanks very much for being here with us. To begin with, just briefly summarize for our viewers, what have been the key asks, ahead of the budget, and what has the response from the ministry been like?
Thank you, Ritu, for having me. Yes, as I think you very aptly summarized it, yes, it's been a long-standing demand. See, what we need to understand is that the NBFC sector has been growing. If you remember in the NBFC symposium, which was held in 9 July, Honorable Finance Minister herself had quoted that NBFCs today stand at 25% of the bank credit, and she set a target of 50% of bank credit by 2047. And NBFCs, loans to MSMEs, funding to green assets like electric vehicles, solar rooftops is well known. We are, in fact, leading players in these segments. So all in all, there is a strong case for making funding available to NBFCs. Today, the sources of funding are very restricted. It's majorly depending on banks, and the larger NBFCs do raise funds from the capital markets or the overseas borrowings. The large segment of mid and small size NBFCs are either dependent on banks or they borrow from larger NBFCs, which increases their cost of borrowing and which further manifests in their increased cost of lending. So I think what we are requesting here is that to diversify this, if there could be a dedicated refinance window, and we have a classic case of National Housing Bank, which refinances HFCs, and incidentally, HFCs is also a class of NBFCs, but we do not have this benefit for other NBFC segment. And in fact, this recommendation was made by the Parliamentary Standing Committee way back in 2003, that there should be a dedicated refinance institution. So that's the key ask, number one. Yeah. Number two, on the SARFAESI part, when you said, while you aptly put it today, we do not have any direct recovery tool. So if to enforce security under SARFAESI, we are required to have a minimum loan threshold of 20 lakhs. Everybody knows that the loans which NBFCs provide to retail loans are generally less than 20 lakhs ticket size. So we are not able to use SARFAESI. As a result, we are falling back on indirect recovery methods like filing check bouncing cases which are clogging the courts. So there is a very strong case to reduce this 25 lakhs limit to 1 lakh. So that's the second ask. The third, on the tax part, again, a very, very long-standing demand. Today, interest income for NBFCs is not exempted from TDS. So any non-individual borrower who borrows is deducting TDS on every EMI. Now, it's causing a huge operational nightmare. We presented a small data point that we collected data from 10 upper layer NBFCs. And as per this data, as on March 31, 2025, 3.3 lakh borrowers were there who were deducting TDS just from 10 NBFCs. Now, it is creating a compliance burden for the small-time borrowers. MSMEs, they have to deduct TDS, they have to timely deposit TDS, ensure proper quoting, etc. So this is, and no additional revenue to the government. Finally, as you rightly said, is the issue of notifying NBFCs for deduction under Section 80E. Interest on education loans taken by borrowers are deductible income for banks, but for NBFCs, they need to be notified separately, and only one NBFC has been notified.
Okay, Mr. Agarwal, we got those. Yeah, we got those, Mr. Agarwal. The question, especially on this refinancing window, really was, what was the response? I mean, like you said, since 2003, since that long it's been brought up. Was there any favorable response to this request?
See, let me put it very candidly. In such meetings, there's a patient hearing given. There is no response. Obviously, we will get to know whenever there is a budget exercise, budget comes. So all I can say is there was a patient hearing given by the finance minister and the team. So we hope for the best.
Yeah, got it. Just quickly before we have to let you go, Mr. Agarwal, we've been reading reports that a credit guarantee scheme of 20,000 crore could be in the works for NBFC MFIs to ease their liquidity crunch. Are you aware of this and the timeline, if you could confirm for us?
No, let me also clarify, we at FIC do not represent NBFC MFIs because we already have Sadhan and MFIN as the two separate SROs for them. So I think it would not be correct on my part to comment on that.
Noted. Since you were part of the meeting today. Sure, since you were part of the meeting, and we were wondering if this came up as well. But thanks very much. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, for covering some of those important points for us. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that, Ritu. Interesting subject. And we will see how many of these demands get a favourable hearing finally when we see the budget next year. Thank you for that.
Just one word on that Sammaan Capital. There's a bit of a bounce from the lows of the day because there's some clarification that's come about that the audit is clarified that the court has not expressed any opinion on the merits of the allegations against Sammaan Capital. So, that's what they're saying out there. It's with regard to the erstwhile entity. So all that, probability of, the deal going into a bit of a flux, I think there is some clarification that's coming out there. That's where there's a bit of a bounce.
From what I read right now, some of this is coming from, the online sources as well. It says the order, because the Supreme Court gave out an order today, it says the order, the court clarifies that we have not expressed any opinion on the merits of the allegations against Sammaan Capital. So whether or not there was wrongdoing, the court is not taking a view on that. The court has told all the regulatory agencies that they need to get their act together. A fresh, FIR needs to be filed. And all the regulatory agencies, which is CBI, ED and the others, and SEBI, they need to come back to the court with a fresh update. So I think it's status quo. The market, I think, is still, I mean, we have to bear in mind that the IHC deal, IHC had decided to invest $1 billion in Sammaan Capital. That was in October, the 2nd of October to be precise. That also was to trigger an open offer. And all of this, that $1 billion infusion in Sammaan Capital was subject to regulatory clearances, specifically from two regulators, the Competition Commission of India and the Reserve Bank of India. So we're trying, of course, we're working the phones, trying to get to the company as well, Sammaan Capital, because they alone can provide clarity on whether whatever has transpired in the court today, whether it has any bearing on the IHC deal, on the open offer or not. So I think while the market obviously is fluctuating because there's a lot of news flow, I think we just need some more clarity from the company itself, and that will be great.
Okay, all right. Well, let's get in Sudeep Bandyopadhyay, who joins in. Hi, Sudeep. Good afternoon. First, your view on Sammaan Capital. That big deal was announced. The stock had pulled back a little bit. And now you have this order that's coming about, which the street is getting a little bit jittery on. What would your view be? We already know that it's trading at less than 1 times book. I think the book had come down from around 250 to around 212 or thereabouts the last time I checked. But now this regulatory overhang again comes into picture. What's your take?
Well, I think the deal was a very good for the company, and we were all positive post the deal because the past legacy was kind of getting wiped out, and a fresh beginning with the support of a reputed investor. I think the market lapped it up, liked it, and there were a lot of buying. Today's development is definitely unfortunate, and I suspect this will put at least they will delay the process of open offer and related investments and things like that. So definitely it's a setback and a negative development from a Sammaan Capital point of view. So I have to be careful, and I will advise caution to the investors at this stage. I think things are fluid, though the Supreme Court has clarified that there is no opinion has been expressed on the merits of the case. But I think the regulators will be extremely careful while dealing with the open offer approval. So it's definitely going to get delayed because of this.
Okay, so that is Sammaan Capital. Stock is still volatile. The other headline maker of the day, Sudeep, it has to be grow, right? What else? Growing and growing and growing. And today, down circuit 10%. But then that's the market. That's how these, high-flying movers always move. Very volatile. What would your advice be to investors now?
Well, I think last week itself, I said that, I think it's a fantastic company. It's got a great business, great growth potential from current levels because of new businesses getting added, which will be revenue accretive and margin improving. But it was a little too high and it went up pretty fast. So some amount of correction, profit booking, whatever name we want to call, was warranted. And that's pretty much what is happening. So if it corrects further, I would suggest that people having a long-term view should start buying. Look, I think Grow is the largest broking business with maximum number of clients. But that's not the end. It doesn't end here. And they are getting into lending against shares, which is good, very, very revenue accretive. They are getting into other adjacent verticals like wealth management and things like that, which all will add to the the revenue as well as profitability. So I think we will see a different Grow in a couple of years' time. So patient investors should get in, and these kind of corrections will be an opportunity for acquiring.
Okay, got that. Anything else, Sudeep, that stands out for you in terms of, something that is looking good, something that you're looking to buy. KEC, case in point, you have a clarification that's coming in there. They're saying that it doesn't have any big impact in terms of the current operational performance, but clearly getting barred by, from bidding for the next 9 months by Power Grid. That's what's pulled the stock down by close to 10%. Initially, it was down 4-5%, but as the day has progressed, it's actually down close to 10%. And now the management has put a clarification on the exchanges as well. View out here?
Absolutely, Nigel. In fact, I was going to mention this even before you mentioned. If I have to pick up one stock today, that will be KEC International. Definitely, today's announcement by Power Grid is sentiment negative, and it has rightly affected the market today. But having said that, I think this particular Power Grid order, which bars them from participating in fresh tender for next 9 months, will not have any material impact on their revenue and profitability, in the current year as well as the next fiscal. It will have some impact, but that is small, because if you look at their order book, I think the private sector order has been growing much more faster than Power Grid orders, and Power Grid order as a percentage of total order has been continuously coming down. Having said that, I will definitely say that today's development is not good for the company. They need to do whatever necessary action for ensuring that there is no repeat of that, but it will not have a material impact. And considering this fact, I think today's correction is definitely an opportunity for looking at buying and building a position. Even if somebody is not going to buy today, considering the volatility, they should watch this space and maybe take a call in the next couple of days.
Okay, all right. And one man's pain could be another man's gain. That's what PL is pointing out. Prabhudas Leeladhar, a note that just came in there. They're saying that a potential beneficiary of this could be Kalpataru projects, because that's the one that bids for some of these, Power Grid projects as well. So could explain why Kalpataru actually is up a little bit. It's up close to around 1.3% or thereabouts. But Sudeep says that for KEC, this could actually be an entry opportunity. Thanks a lot, Sudeep, joining in, giving us a review on a lot of stocks. Wishing you a good rest of the day. Catch up later this week. Well, we'll slip into a short break. When you come back, we'll have Nitin Bhasin of Ambit, who will be joining in to give us his view on the markets, what he likes, dislikes, and how does he see the structure of the market shape up.
Yeah, Ajay, look at your dad. Will we be the same at his age?
Absolutely yes, if we plan our future like him.
But do we have to wait until his age?
Absolutely not. We recently invested in LIC's new Jeevan Shanti, which gives deferred annuity, which means regular income after some years.
I see.
LIC.
LIC's annuity plans give annuity options and flexibility in receiving regular income. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Well, that's the holiday over.
Thank you!
When you fly Emirates, your holiday isn't over until your flight is over.
हाँ बोल बेटा करण।
क्या? जिंदगी की रोज की दौड़ में हम अक्सर चीजें भूल जाते हैं।
अंकल!
पर अच्छा लगता है जब कोई आपका ख्याल रखता है, जैसे कि आरबीआई ख्याल रखता है आपके अनक्लेम डिपॉजिट्स का।
अनक्लेम डिपॉजिट मतलब?
वो बैंक खाते जिसमें 10 साल या उससे अधिक से कोई लेन देन न हुआ हो। ऐसे खाते आरबीआई के डीईए फंड में चले जाते हैं।
अपने बैंक के किसी भी शाखा में जाकर अपना केवाईसी अपडेट कराइए
और अपना अनक्लेम डिपॉजिट वापस पाएं।
आरबीआई कहता है जानकार बनिए,
सतर्क रहिए।
Welcome to the 10th Global Economic Summit, coinciding with 6th World Trade Expo and WTCA Asia Pacific Regional Meeting with the theme Accelerating Global Trade Partnership Connectivity. It shall further unite eminent leaders, partnership and institutions. We invite you to this prestigious event.
I am Gaurav Mehta and I'm the CEO.
No, you're a founder.
No.
Yep.
I'm not a founder.
Yes, you are.
What's going on here?
I'm Aarti Nanji and I play tennis for a
But you're also a founder.
Founder?
Yes.
Who's my co-founder, by the way?
You don't have one yet. Your wealth is your first startup. Don't just manage it, scale it. With the right co-founder, we see your vision and unlock the true potential of your wealth. Ionic Wealth, co-founder in your journey of wealth creation.
25 लाख का हॉस्पिटल बिल है, कितने पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे?
पैसों की चिंता आप मत कीजिए पापा।
मैम, सर का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस क्लेम अप्रूव हो गया है।
आप?
पॉलिसी बाजार।
हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस क्लेम में हमेशा आपके साथ। पॉलिसी बाजार, 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 550 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
कौन है जो जोड़े देश को? विकसित भारत का विकसित वायर।
Excelsoft Technologies Limited, a global software as a service company focused on the learning and assessment market, with a presence across 19 countries, now makes an initial public offering of equity shares of face value rupees 10 each for cash at a premium. 100% book built offer being offered in a price band rupees 114 to rupees 120 per equity share. Opens on Wednesday, November 19, 2025 and closes on Friday, November 21, 2025. For risk factors and details, refer to Red Herring Prospectus.
Welcome back. Markets continue to hold its ground. We're up 150 points. Wow. Just imagine that. Markets holding on to gains as we speak. And KEC, as I had mentioned, there's that clarification that comes out there. They are saying they don't foresee any material impact on its ongoing operations with regard to the financial position. And they're confident that they're going to go ahead and achieve the guidance that they have been talking about. For the time being, the stock is still down 10%. Because more than the numbers, this is a sentiment negative, right? Being barred for 9 months from bidding from one particular company, which is Power Grid. That's where the stock is down 10% or thereabouts. We are in touch with the management and hopefully we can get them to come and clarify on their stance and whether or not there is hope of actually getting this debarment, pushed behind. So let's see how that goes as well. For the time being, a bit of a recovery from the lows of the day. They're confident of achieving the annual inflow target. So that's positive. As promised, let's welcome Nitin Bhasin, Head of Institutional Equities at Ambit, who joins us on the show. Hi, Nitin. Good afternoon. Good to see you win. Earnings season has just ended. What is your view? Was it better than what you all were expecting? Actually, expectations were very, very low. So what's your take with regard to the past earnings season? And are you all optimistic that earnings starts recovering from here on?
Hi, Nigel. Thanks for having me here. Clearly, yes. How we began the quarter, perhaps where was our expectation. I think I would say that we're positively surprised, more so especially in the mid cap and the small cap earnings growth, in excess of closer to about high teens or mid teens for both of the categories of cohorts, are much better. I would say where we were landed up at the end of the quarter versus where we started the quarter.
Nitin, but having said that, from what I gathered out of one of your recent notes, it was the coffee can note that I was, reading and looking through the strategy ahead. You folks still seem cautious on the market. And if I got it correct, at least in the large cap space, you think maybe, there could be consolidation, mid caps. Again, if I read the latest note, that's the caveat. But are you expecting, potentially some correction in small and mid caps ahead?
So I think, bringing you back to what we were saying for the last 1 year, now closer to about 13 or 14 months, that we believe that market is in a stage where we see consolidation, or let's say we say rise in concentration, where we believe the top 100 stocks and within that the mega caps outperform the other indices. Not to say that every stock from the mid cap and the small cap has to underperform. To say cohorts, the next 150 after the top 100, the next 250 after the top 250, the mid cap or the small cap, what you call it, as indices, could actually not be that, underperformers in the times to come. That was our view 14 months back, and that is our view today also. We continue to prefer large caps or within that mega cap companies. And I think to some extent that has played out over the last 1 year. But yes, if the trend of this quarter, where we saw mid cap and the small cap earnings come back or surprise positively, if this continues, perhaps we will have to reconsider our view, because our view was also based on the point that relative earnings growth of the large caps, or the share of earnings in the overall earnings of the large caps is rising faster, and hence the market should large caps.
So Nitin, just to close this loop, at what level of earnings growth will you probably revisit this overall cautious call on the market, especially SMIDs? What are you penciling in right now? And at what level will you perhaps need to take a relook?
I think I would start looking at the revenue growth because margins can come sometimes for the input. Margins can come sometimes for the base level growth, also how the last year's base was. We continue to see that in the case of SMIDs, the revenue growth is not still crossing 8 to 10%. And you got a very good quarter of 24% or let's say 22% earnings growth in mid or small in certain cases and 16%. If I see that revenue growth is also accelerating, perhaps we will start revisiting or actively reconsider our call.
Okay. Got that. Nitin, just stay on. So we've got your overall market sense. Now we want to understand how to play the market in this current environment. But before that, very quickly, let's see what's buzzing on Hormaz's stock list. Over to you, Hormaz.
Oh, well, a lot of interesting names in today's session, leading with the IT names, of course, leading the gains on the market today. And L&T Tech is among the top gainers on the IT stocks today, 9% higher on the stock, the biggest single-day gain since May. Today's volumes are the highest since January at the start of the year, and almost 81 lakh shares have been traded on the stock. The 20-day average here is only 57,000 shares. So very significantly high volumes on the stock. The next level on the upside is the 200 DMA of 4407, which it has very convincingly crossed as we speak. The stock still down around 7% this year, was down 9% last year as well. You spoke about KEC International, the top loser on the Nifty 500 today, the biggest single day fall since June of 24. The stock has declined in 16 out of the last 19 trading sessions. It's the underperformance right from the last 3 weeks now. We had over 60 lakh shares that have been traded on the stock. The 20-day average is around 7.5 lakh shares. The stock below all key moving averages and is now poised for its first year of negative returns after 2018. Now, Linde India is the other one making a move on the upside today. It snapped a 4-day losing streak in the 6.5% up move. Then this too has been an underperformer in the last 3 weeks. 12 out of the last 17 sessions the stock has declined. Today's volumes the highest since June, with close to 2 lakh shares that have been traded on the stock. The 20-day average is only 23,000 shares. And despite this move, the stock remains below all key moving averages, but has turned positive for 2025, but is down 40% from its May 2024 record high of close to 10,000 rupees. And lastly, Gabriel India was under pressure in the last 6 days. The stock is now up 11.25% today, and it's declined 22% during that 6-day losing streak that the stock saw. The third straight day that the stock has seen 20 lakh or more shares traded in a single day. Even today, we had 23 lakh shares traded. The 20-day average is just around 3 lakh shares. And the stock, despite this 6-day losing streak that it had, is up 130% in 2025.
Okay, all right, got it. Thanks very much for that. Hormaz, lots of buzzing stocks there. By the way, the stock on your screen, that is now, I think, in a down freeze. Sammaan Capital, let's pull up the intraday chart. I think that is the 10% down circuit, a down freeze on Sammaan Capital. So that's what's playing out. Remember, why the market is getting very, very jittery is, and we're not speculating on this, it's just a question in investors' mind. Yes. What happens to the deal, the IHC deal? That is the biggest
Does it go in doubt? That's the only thing.
Yes, because, I mean, the deal was announced on the 2nd of October. Now, here's the timeline. There was an open offer that was supposed to come in at 139, right?
Yes.
139 rupees a share. The deal was subject to regulatory approvals from RBI and CCI. Now, as an investor, the market, I mean, anyone would feel jittery that will they walk away from the deal? Can they? Was it a completely, closed, binding contract or not?
Correct.
Though, once again, to reiterate, today the court has said absolutely nothing in terms of whether this listed entity is in the grey or is in any amount of wrongdoing. Nothing of that sort has come from the court. But what the court has said is that it has galvanized all the regulatory agencies, including the ED, including SEBI, including CBI, to, basically get their act together and that fresh FIR that needs to be filed. So basically, it seems to be opening a Pandora's box, and therefore, I believe the nervousness.
Absolutely. The management, should actually join and clarify the stance and what they believe actually as well. But we'll have to keep an eye out on that. For the time being, pending sell orders, stock at lower freeze. But let's get back to Nitin Bhasin. Nitin, I wanted to ask you about these FI flows. I think in our interactions earlier in 2025, there was some optimism. I recall you had gone to the United States, you had met a clutch of foreign investors. People like the story, but they don't want to come in. What's going on there? I mean, when will they show us the money?
I think India has been one of the great stories for most of the global investors investing in the emerging markets. In the last 1 or 2 years, the domestic money, perhaps the kind of flow we've seen, has made valuations a little bit of a concern for the foreign investors. You go to most of these investor conferences, and everybody's excited to be part of that, listening to stories, listening to opportunities, and especially what excites them is these new businesses of India getting listed, such as Grow, Physics Wala, Urban Company, the Swiggy, etc. So, but at the same point in time, many companies in India are trading north of, let's say, 30, 35 times 12 to 24 months forward. I think valuations are keeping them away. And that's why you can see FIs participating more in primaries and being net sellers on the secondaries in the market. So I think valuations is the only pushback that we see from the FIs right now. I think we'll have to wait for a while before the FIs become net positive in India.
Okay, so Nitin, then against the backdrop of your overall slightly cautious approach to the market, leave us with the broad portfolio construct now. I mean, you like large caps and mega caps in particular. But within that, what's the order of preference? Consumption, consumer, finance, what's the order?
I remember, last time also giving a little bit of a contrarian view that we believe for the last 3-4 months that IT is a beaten down sector. And one should be actually looking at IT services. One should be looking at pharma / healthcare. One should be looking at FMCG. And that's what we've noticed in the recent quarter gone by also, where discretionary consumption versus stable consumption, the trends look a little better on the FMCG / rural, whether it's GST, whether it is effect of monsoon. So we've seen that such periods of rising concentration and where market prefers large caps, they tend to gravitate towards IT services, pharma, FMCG. Those could be one. But we are seeing also certain signs of the globals moving their portfolios towards cyclicals, such as banks as well as oil and gas in certain cases. So whilst one should be looking at those three sectors, but FIs seem to be positioning themselves for cyclicals rather than defensives right now.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Nitin, thank you very much. Great conversation as always, and we look forward to connecting again soon. For the time being, the market continues to hold on to its momentum on the upside in an otherwise careful environment. India standing out, 140 points nearly up on the Nifty. But Nigel, what's happening in the F&O space?
Well, actually, it's a good-looking screen, right? If you just take a look at it, the way the Nifty has moved, it's been very, very heartening. And that 20 DMA has got defended yet again. So that's been an encouraging sign. Even if you look at the Nifty and the Nifty Bank in this month itself, you'll see the way the Nifty Bank actually has outperformed the Nifty just in this month. So one positive is the Nifty has held on to that 20 DMA. And the second positive is the Nifty Bank continues to lead the way, and that's outperforming even in today's trading session. Let's pull up a couple of strikes then that we're looking at. There is put writing that we're seeing at around the 25,900, 25,800 mark as well. Good amount of open risk built up, and the premium has crashed by close to around 40%. On the upside, but if you look at it, there is some out of the money call buying now that we are seeing. After a while, I'm seeing something like this. The 26,500 call, the premium out there, it's at around 17, 18 rupees. So those call buyers, they're saying, let's take a punt. If there is going to be a trade deal, there's going to be some other piece of good news. And if you're going to see a melt up, then let's go ahead and buy this for around 15 rupees, was what it was at the start of today. Currently, it's around 18 to around 19 rupees. But the broad sense you're getting is the range in the near term. At the downside, around 25,700, that's important. Closer to around the 20 DMA. And on the upside, this 26,100 mark needs to be taken out. If that's taken out, then we are bracing for fresh all-time highs. And then maybe, in fact, we see a bit of a melt up as well. That's the hope that's playing out. Today, the sector that's really come back has been tech. That AI was missing in, the tech companies' armory. And now, in fact, with AI trade seeing a little bit of a flux or seeing some kind of profit taking globally, you're seeing tech actually that's seeing a good amount of fresh buying. So Tech Mahindra, big open risk built up out there. Wipro is another stock as well that was seeing signs of short covering as well as some fresh buying out there. So tech is standing out. And from the banking names, SBI, fresh buying is what we're seeing. Good up move in the stock on its way to around 1,000 rupees and open interest up as well. While on PNB, we are seeing some bit of a short covering bounce that's playing out there. One stock that's seeing a lot of shots actually that are into the system is Tata Motors passenger vehicle business. Yet again, stock down, open to sub. Net 26,100. That's a bit of a resistance mark on the Nifty, but it appears just in the near term, buy on dips is working out, and in fact, India is outperforming after underperforming all of 2025. Back to you, Surbhi.
Absolutely, and it's a good feeling, right, to be back on top after having pretty much sulked the whole year. Well, let's take a quick break on that note. We'll come back on the other side. Nimesh will join in with all the dealing room chatter and then some final trades coming up with Mitesh.
आराम से हाँ। सामान देना भैया।
अब आगे क्या करना है? वो पिट्टू की पर्ची में देखो ना।
पर्ची?
देखो कहाँ गई पर्ची?
नमस्ते
जी।
हाँ? मुझे पता है वो पर्ची में क्या लिखा होता है। आप चलिए मेरे साथ। व्हील चेयर। पर्ची में ये तो लिखा ही होगा कि सीधे फ्लाइट में नहीं चढ़ना है, थोड़ा घूम के जाना है। अब पर्ची में शॉपिंग की बात तो जरूर लिखी होती है। थोड़ी पेट पूजा की बात कोई पर्ची में ना लिखे, ऐसा हो सकता है? टिफिन ले।
थैंक यू।
अरे पर्ची मिल गई।
पर्ची में तो ये सब लिखा ही नहीं था।
हम है ना आपकी पर्ची।
भीड़ में जो थाम ले।
सिर्फ वर्ल्ड क्लास एयरपोर्ट्स नहीं चलाते हैं, आपके सफर में हम सफर बन जाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
What is speed? Do you ever see it? Or is it something you feel? Speed, it's relative. The more you speed up, the more the world slows down. And when you are fast enough, everything becomes still. That's when you see the world as it truly is. Servo Hypersport F5. When speed is your default.
आज प्रैक्टिकल करेंगे। अगर करना है पूरे इंडिया को ट्रैप तो बना लो फेक इन्वेस्टमेंट ऐप।
ये तो बिल्कुल असली है।
मैजिक डिटेल्स दे।
HBFC इन सिक्योरिटीज। मम्मी इन सिक्योरिटीज। पापा ऐप तो हो गया, बाप कैसे होगा?
लोग इसमें पैसा डालेंगे लेकिन निकाल नहीं पाएंगे।
चोर तो जोरों शोरों से तैयार है, और आप ऐप से भी रजिस्टर्ड ना हो तो डाउनलोड ना करें।
अब बस बेटी की शादी हो जाए, सारी जिम्मेदारियां खत्म। इसलिए मैंने ली है VIPshadi.com की मेंबरशिप। इनके टॉप रेटेड कंसल्टेंट्स ढूंढते हैं सबसे अच्छी प्रोफाइल। रजिस्टर नाउ।
माँ के पैरों की धूल माथे पर लगाओ, परदेश की गलियों में अपने वतन के गीत सुनाओ।
टी ब्रेक के बाद स्कैमर्स हैं तैयार। सामने हैं अनुभवी बल्लेबाज।
हेलो, दिस इज कस्टम्स डिपार्टमेंट। आपके पार्सल में ड्रग्स मिले हैं।
कस्टम्स?
यस।
खतरनाक यॉर्कर सीधा ब्लॉक होल में, लेकिन मुस्कुराते हुए किया सामना।
मजाक मत करो।
शुरू तो आपने ही करा था।
कमाल का ब्लॉक। स्कैमर्स शॉक।
बी अलर्ट, बी स्कैम सेफ।
Well, that's the holiday of it.
When you fly Emirates, your holiday isn't over until your flight is over.
Welcome back. Well, it appears on growth that was down close to around 10%. There's a large trade actually that's taken place. I think still the stock is down, but it appears there is a large trade that just took place in the last 5 minutes or so. So we'll be waiting by to see whether or not it's going to be reported. But large volume spike is what we saw in the last few minutes. That said, markets are looking up. Let's find out in D-Street Charter what is Nimesh picking up. Nimesh, tell us.
Hi, Nigel. It's a kind of a market where you are down one day, up one day. So not really much to read into, but clearly it's a good pullback from the intraday lows, essentially led by the large cap names. So portfolio investors may not be very excited or happy. But on the Nifty, at the index level, it looks like it's a good pullback, largely led by IT names. So the entire IT pack seems to be back in action. There is a bit of buying interest as well. The IT index is up 3%, and across the board, whether it's large cap or mid cap IT, that's doing good today. In terms of flows, again, a mixed job of trade. You might see some block data as well, which might have an impact. But in general, I understand there is a bit of buying interest back in the private bank name. So that trend continues as far as the institutional flows are concerned. Technically, I guess 26,120 is a level to watch now. If that gets taken out, you will see a further very sharp short covering rally on the Nifty. So that's the overall feedback. But the supply of paper seems to be containing. So that may cap the upside in the very near term. But I guess technically 26,120 is the next level to watch for a potential short covering rally further.
Okay, all right, Nimesh. What about individual stocks? What are you picking up?
Well, so the first stock on my list is Zota Healthcare. Big move on that name. In fact, it's almost at a record highs now and big volumes as well. I understand the company is likely to raise funds by QIP very soon. So that's the trigger there in Zota Healthcare. The second stock is Paytm. Since the block day before, the stock is under pressure and there is renewed selling pressure from larger FIs in Paytm. That's the reason why that stock is under pressure today. The third name is Persistent. The entire IT is doing good today, but Persistent stands out in terms of aggressive bids from the domestic mutual funds. So looks like there are some large domestic mutual funds who are looking to add into Persistent at current levels. And the last is Delivery. Well, the stock has been consolidating post the earnings. My sense is at these levels now, some bit of institutional flows as well as the HNI flows are back. And one influential HNI investor seems to be an active buyer in Delivery at current levels.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot, Nimesh, for that. And Nimesh, just one quick clarification. Loris Labs, that was the one, right? That you're expecting a large trade on that one.
Correct. So all right. Even that's been under pressure for the last couple of days.
Yeah, last couple of days. And there was a lot of, when yesterday you mentioned on D Street Chatter, a lot of queries came in as well that that deal is likely to happen. So we'll keep an eye out. Last few days, stock under pressure, and let's see when exactly that does take place. Thanks, Nimesh. Well, let's go across to Mitesh Thakkar. He's got a fresh couple of trading ideas for us. Mitesh?
See, I have some BTST calls. I think Persistent is something trading call earlier, but it's run away fast from its averages. But looking at the closing today, I think a BTST is going to be taken with this target of 63.9, 63.10, and a target of 63.50. Possibly for tomorrow can be a good target. And the other one is PNB. I think, that's a stock which has done well near the day's high. So BTST here at the stop at 123.9 for targets of around 127.
Got it. Okay. All right, Mitesh. Thanks a lot for that. PNB is the one as well that's seeing a bit of a short covering bounce that's playing out, and that's one of Mitesh's picks. By the way, on Grow, if I got this correct, there are more than 60 lakh shares that have got traded in that large trade. So, it's broken up into various trades, but I think that's the number. 62 lakh shares to be precise is what we have seen. But let's focus on the big global stock that we'll be tracking later this evening. You have NVIDIA, stated to report its earnings today. CNBC's Steve Sedgwick is here with all the expectations.
The truth of the matter is we don't know what the whisper number that the algorithms are going to be looking at for NVIDIA today. We don't know what the positioning is on NVIDIA. We've seen a lot of 13F filings and about a lot of whale activity. The truth of the matter is you can justify it being a good purchase or a good sale depending on what number you look at. And herein lies the problem as well. They will beat expectations because 75% of US companies always beat expectations because you call it down and beat. But if you look at a price earnings ratio going forward, it trades at a very modest level compared with some of these companies, 27 times forward. If you look at a price to book or a price to sales, it trades at a very immodest number as well. So it's those forward sales figures which I think is where the scare is going to be as well. But I will hasten to add, if you're looking for scary numbers in the AI sector, you won't find it in NVIDIA. You're going to find endorsement of the fact that this company still has its moat. And that's the other thing. Is the moat still going to be intact in 2026 and 2027 as well? If you want to find the scary numbers, you have to look to OpenAI, which is in the private sector, of course, as well. A company which is expected in 2025 to make 15 to 20 billion US dollars in sales, but trades on a valuation of what? And therein lies the problem. It's gone up from a 60-odd billion valuation a year or so ago to, I've seen a number being touted around, whisper it, of $1 trillion is what they want for their IPO when they get it as well. Those numbers, for me, terrify me.
OpenAI at $1 trillion. Well, terrifying is the word used by the host there in terms of valuations. But then that's how, the mother of all big tech trades, biggest that we've seen since, obviously, the turn of the millennium. Anyhow, on that note, let's come back home. Nvidia is going to be setting the stage, and it's the most important Q internationally tonight. But right here, some more stocks in focus. Biocon, we've just seen a Citi double downgrade on the stock. Let's go across to Vivek. I think we have Vivek with us.
Well,
yeah. Vivek, what is this all about, this double downgrade?
Well, that's right. You know, stock's been under pressure today. In fact, last couple of days, stocks cooled off from the recent rally that it witnessed. Interesting note by Citi, you know, it's a double downgrade. Target price cut, has been quite steep. They've cut it to 360 rupees a share from the earlier 430 rupees a share target that they had. They're saying that while Biocon is one of the best globally in terms of biosimilar R&D as well as execution, they're saying that as far as the in-market products are concerned that are currently being sold in the USA, the prices continue to soften. Along with that, the pipeline molecules that Biocon has, they appear to be in a hyper-competitive environment, and they say that this high competition may result in the company's biosimilar sales falling short of Street's expectations. Along with that, they're saying that the recent US FDA guidelines may actually ease biosimilar entry barriers and lead to increased competition. So what they've done made three changes. Number one, they've cut the target multiple for the biosimilars business to 14 times EBITDA versus the earlier 20 times that they had. Along with that, they've lowered the multiple of the generics business to 14 times versus 16 times they had earlier. However, they've kept the multiple of the research services business, that is Syngene, at 25 times of EBITDA. No wonder then Biocon's under significant pressure in session today.
Okay, all right, Vivek, thanks very much for that. That's Biocon. By the way, that's a statement from Sammaan Capital coming in, saying that they're professionally run with LIC and BlackRock being significant shareholders, and they're reiterating that the erstwhile promoter, Sameer Gehlot, had exited. He's not a shareholder. None of the allegations in the petition have been substantiated. But I think what the market, again, we repeat, what the market needs to know, the clarity the market is seeking, is whether A, the listed entity, Sammaan Capital, is it in the purview of these fresh investigations, which CBI and ED, etc., if they start fresh investigations, will Sammaan Capital's own books be open for scrutiny? That's what we need clarification on, number one. And number two, what happens to the IHC deal? And on that, I don't think we have a definitive statement from Sammaan Capital just yet. 12%, that's a big knock on the stock coming through. Mayuresh Joshi is with us. Mayuresh, this is a tough one, and I know you don't have enough inputs, I am sure, to answer it, but let me still try and get your sense for shareholders who would have bought, because Sammaan Capital had started doing well after the IHC deal. There was a lot of excitement around the stock. What would your advice be now?
You're absolutely right. I think I subscribe to your point completely, Surbhi. I think we probably need to wait out now on what probably comes out with the Supreme Court directive and what the MCA probably does. But again, I think this is going to be a long, drawn-out process, and there are going to be a lot of ifs and buts in this entire process. So I think the kind of pressure that the stock has now witnessed, specifically after the news has come out, I think it might act as a headwind. And unless we have absolute amount of clarity, I think it's very, very difficult to take a call on this.
Okay, all right, Mayuresh, stay with us. We want to hear a couple of your picks as well from here on. For the time being, we'll slip into a short break, come back. We'll hear Mayuresh's calls on the markets as well as we'll wind it up.
वैल्यू फंड्स, इसमें ऐसा क्या है? सोचिए सुपरमार्केट नहीं, तो फिर स्टॉक मार्केट है। और रैक्स पे अलग-अलग स्टॉक्स हैं। म्यूचुअल फंड्स ऐसे स्टॉक सिलेक्ट करते हैं जिनकी आज की वैल्यू उनके पोटेंशियल से कम है। यानी स्टॉक्स जो डिस्काउंट पे है।
इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के लिए वैल्यू फंड्स में ऐसे स्टॉक्स चुने जाते हैं जिनकी कीमत आज कम है पर फ्यूचर में बढ़ सकती है। म्यूचुअल फंड्स निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेज ध्यानपूर्वक पढ़ें।
अपनी लाडली की सेफ्टी से समझौता? नो चांस। इसीलिए पॉलीकैप ग्रीन वायर्स। इसमें है 99.97% हाई कंडक्टिव प्योर कॉपर। ये साधारण वायर्स के मुकाबले जल्दी गर्म नहीं होते। पॉलीकैप ग्रीन वायर्स, इंडिया सेफ हैप्पी कनेक्शन।
कौन है जो जोड़े देश को? विकसित भारत का विकसित वायर।
हाँ बोल बेटा करण। क्या
जिंदगी की रोज की दौड़ में हम अक्सर चीजें भूल जाते हैं,
अंकल।
पर अच्छा लगता है जब कोई आपका ख्याल रखता है, जैसे कि आरबीआई ख्याल रखता है आपके अनक्लेम डिपॉजिट्स का।
अनक्लेम डिपॉजिट मतलब?
वो बैंक खाते जिसमें 10 साल या उससे अधिक से कोई लेन देन न हुआ हो। ऐसे खाते आरबीआई के डीईए फंड में चले जाते हैं।
अपने बैंक के किसी भी शाखा में जाकर अपना केवाईसी अपडेट कराइए
और अपना अनक्लेम डिपॉजिट वापस पाए।
आरबीआई कहता है जानकार बनिए,
सतर्क रहिए।
आपका और हमारा बहुत ही लंबा और करीबी रिश्ता है। हम उस चटकारे में हैं जो आप अपने दोस्तों के साथ लेते हैं, उस दराज में है जिसमें छिपा है माँ के राजमा चावल का राज, उन सांसों में है जो आपके पलों को महकाते हैं। तो अगली बार आपको कोई चीज पसंद आ जाए तो उसे पलट के देखिएगा, जरूर हमारा नाम दिख जाएगा।
Wow, so you use this trading app too?
Yes, because it promises guaranteed returns.
Guaranteed returns. Your trading app is authentic, right? Here's the catch. First, they promise guaranteed high returns with a grin, then trick you to download a fake app and pull you in.
Well said, well said.
SEBI and NSE advice. Download apps only from the verified apps list on SEBI's investor site. An investor awareness initiative by SEBI and NSE.
Just one more observation with regard to Sammaan Capital. If you pull up the F&O plate, in all probability, this stock goes into the F&O ban, because there's a big surge in terms of open interest. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that. I think, in the next 24 hours, we should hear from the management. They should come out and clarify, because shareholders will be worried. You have $1 billion of a deal that's in the works. And whether or not this puts a spoke in it, that's all the clarification that's required from here on. Valuations are secondary. For the time being, we want to know what's the clarification on this. Coming across to you, Mayuresh, any company that stood out for you with regard to numbers looking good in the past quarter and the way ahead from here on, there is earnings visibility and the stock not too expensive. Difficult one, I know, but if you could name a couple of companies.
Afternoon, Nigel. I think from a valuation perspective, I think we are growth investors. So I think we are obviously going to look at stocks where earnings are expected to remain on an elevated level. Having said that, I think a couple of stocks which we are holding out in Markets with India portfolios and are actionables are VST tillers and tractors. Our own sense is that numbers were very, very resilient in the quarter gone by. Specifically, I think the tiller and the power feeder sales have been exceptionally good, both on a year-on-year basis and for the first 9 months on a comparison check done with the 9 months of the earlier year. The tractor sales have been a little bit subdued, and specifically the export of tractors. But again, I think the capacities and the new models that they're probably introducing, both in tillers and tractors, our own sense is that numbers should probably hold up as we head into the second half as well. With a very, very strong balance sheet, the expectations in terms of cash flows remaining strong and earnings remaining very, very resilient and compounding over the next few quarters is something that we are working as a base case scenario. So the rating, ranking, institution holding, all the factors that we see in Canceling working for BST. The second stock is Vishal Mega Mart. Again, I think it's not cheap by any sense, but again, the numbers have been pretty decent in the quarter gone by as well, both in terms of the EBITDA margins in the first half at 9.5%. The expectations in terms of same store sales growth, the kind of repeat customers that probably come through. And obviously, I think the GST rationalization benefits aids them to a certain extent. But the kind of store openings that one looks at, the store positioning that they've probably got, and expectations of strong demand coming back makes us believe that earnings should probably hold up for Vishal Mega Mart as well. And therefore, these two stocks remain actionable as far as our model portfolio is concerned.
Okay, so those are some of the names. What about the new listings, Mayuresh? We had another one today. Anything? Like anything? Want to buy anything? Or staying away?
No, staying away. I think one stock that we've kept on our radar, however, Surbi, is Urban Clap. Our own sense is that there is expectations of a huge paradigm shift that you're probably expected to see in terms of the dynamic changes that we are seeing across households, not just in metro areas, but even in tier 1, tier 2 cities. And therefore, I think the kind of offerings that they have on their plate right now, and the expectations in terms of further offerings coming to at a very, very reasonable price. My own sense is that this is one platform company that we are actually keeping a very, very close watch on.
Got it. Okay. All right. And any of the other companies, Urban Clap company, I recall it went to 200 rupees and then it came down. Any of the other, Lenskart, Physics Wala, a word on actually Tenneco. Though the valuations are not very cheap, more than 20 times EV upon EBITDA, but it seems they have a bit of a tailwind, in the industry tailwind, the product mix, exports as well. And that's why the new listing was up close to around 20%. Any view on this one?
It looks like a very interesting story, Nigel, and I heard the interview of the management that you and Mangalam had in the morning. And therefore, I think the product mix, A, should work out for them. Second, I think the management seems to be very, very positive in terms of the export market. So it's just 5% of their overall top line. But if they're able to expand the export share quite significantly, I think that can create a huge leverage, both in terms of the absolute volumes that they can probably generate and the margins at which these orders can probably come through. Again, I think a large part of their market that they're probably looking at. And again, I think the emission norms, which will keep on changing as we head into the next few years. I think they've clearly got the technological edge and the advantage with them. To answer your question from a valuation perspective, yes, expensive as we speak. But I think there is no clear-cut comparable competitor with an exclusive kind of ownership in this space itself. And therefore, I think the kind of leadership that they probably have might actually continue in the Indian markets.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Mayuresh. Let's wind down the markets then for you. It was actually a good trading session in today's trade. The Nifty did well. We ended higher. The Nifty Bank, well, that's been one end of the opening batting pair. That continued to do well. It was up 0.5%. But today, the non-striker came on strike. And the Nifty IT index, that was the one that bazookaed up. A lot of buying that we saw. The big outperformer up close to 3%. And whether it was, L&T Tech, whether it was TCS, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, all of them did see big buying. LTI Mindtree as well, up and about. On the flip side, from the broader markets, well, we had pretty much even Stevens in terms of advance.